Bill, who wrote the whale, or Moby Dick? I guess we'll have to see when we're reading it. What we're reading is a thing we post constantly from Project Gutenberg. Let's see, what are we reading? Where's the... It says that I'm live, but it's not showing up on YouTube yet. Here we go.
Yeah, I just got the notification.
Refreshing. Okay, there we go. Muting the tab. Popping out the chat. Doing all the setup stuff without the music, because people like having VODs of these. Welcome, Mongos. Author, artist, Simply Lost. Glad you could be here. M. Skylu. Welcome to Centauratron. There's the whale, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail, says Centauratron. Welcome, iconic anemone. Welcome, Liechtenstein. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure we've got live reactions disabled. Do we? And slow mode is on. Great. Okay, so then we need to get the what we're reading link pinned. Okay, so we just finished chapter 118, The Quadrant, and so we are about to move on to chapter 119, The Candles. Bum, bum, bum. So let's go ahead and get that pinned in both chats here. Just as a reminder, we are going to be reading aloud. So that means that I'm not going to be acknowledging tips constantly, just when it makes sense. We are $16 away from our first face camera expansion milestone of the stream. Also, there is some questionable weather headed our way here in Nashville, Tennessee. So I need to make sure that I've got an eye on Nash severe weather. Oh my gosh. Does the Blue Sky app not show... I'm not logged in on this. Is there no... Nash severe weather, Blue Sky. Okay, so there's no way to actually find their URL from inside of Blue Sky. I have to go to their website. But yeah, so we're keeping an eye on this storm line. Welcome, Orwin's Musings. Thank you for the raid. We're about to be reading Moby Dick. But yeah, this stream might get cut short. All tornado warnings have expired. And so hopefully...
To the west of us.
Yeah, well, but there's... Well, no, when they say all tornado warnings have expired, but they don't say to the west of us, they mean there's no tornado warnings for our counties. Like, if they don't specify any counties, they mean that there's none active for Davidson-Williamson. But yeah, so we have damaging wind, tornado, and hail threat, and also flash flood potential, which is why I'm not driving while I read Moby Dick tonight. But yeah, so we might end up wrapping up the stream a little bit early, depending on safety, if we're not going to have, like, power or whatever. That's kind of important. We do a lot of electricity-based work here on the HermitCraft server. So, yeah, just something to be aware of. Okay. So before we start reading, we need to drop off these extra tool books in here. And then we need to take our shovels to go gather sand. We also presumably need to take, what do you call them to go gather sand? Empty shulkers. Because without empty shulkers, gathering sand is kind of a losing battle. Okay. So we have plenty of shovels. And then we're going to toss that in there. Okay, I think we can dump the toolbox for right now. We're going to grab the written materials box and drop off this book. Okay, so We, boy, really don't need that extra pickaxe or that extra axe at the moment. So let's dump those as well. Ooh, or the shears. Okay. So we're going to head to our primary storage area. Snowy Owl says, I'm just in time for the start of the reading. I don't know about that. We've got a little bit of setup before we can actually start the reading. So you might not be just in time. You might be way ahead of time. Okay. So we need empty shulkers. We also need to trade for food, because we have run out of food somehow. We have cookies and apples, neither of which are like top tier crops. Okay, yeah, so there's a bunch of bread. Perfect. Okay. Much better. Okay. So let's wander over here. I also realize I don't know where there's sand left on the server to mine. So we need a whole bunch of shulkers. We need to drop off the apples. We need to drop off the lights. Do we need to take a bed with us? That might be wise. Let's take a bed with us. We're preparing for our expedition here. Okay, bed. And now empty shulkers, and we have a bunch of pickaxes. Do we want to bring an ender chest? Probably. Let's grab an ender chest if we have an extra in here. Might be in one of my redstone boxes. If we have one. And if we don't have one, we at least have 8 obsidian. Nope, there's an ender chest. Great. So 8 obsidian's going back away. Cool. So, rockets. If we're going really far away by air, let's go ahead and bring 2 full stacks of rockets. And we're going to drop the rockets back in there, and away we go. I believe the mining desert is west of Scar's base. Good luck with your SAT, Mango. So if we need to go west of Scar's base, we need to go through this portal here. Ta-da-dun. Ta-da-dun-dun-dun. Ta-da-dun-dun-dun. Why is the what we're reading link not pinned on YouTube yet? Let's pin that. Okay. Now, okay, so this is Scar's base. So that makes me think that the desert is going to be either one of these two. That one's got wood on it, and this one has a chacha wood on it, and it says Gem's coral base. What? Gem has a coral base? I didn't know that. Okay, so it's probably this one. This one might be the desert. Yep, this looks like a desert. Coordinates. Negative 2,700, negative 1,000. Okay. We can deal with that. And then we're going to put a bed down somewhere. Should we put the bed down here, or should we wander further out? Do 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 Dee 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 dee. Da 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 da. Ba 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 ba. Okay, so let's quickly go assess the sitch. Let's check situations over here, I guess. Okay, so this looks like it's mostly been mined out. There's some beach over there. This over here has not been mined out, though, maybe. Partially mined out. Yeah, this is looking promising. Bum 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 ba da doo. Okay, so we're gonna put the bed and the boxes here. Ender chest. Let's go in there with the extra shovels. And, ooh, should we take the torches out and maybe scatter some about? Let's see, that seems like a good idea. Just deter monsters from spawning directly on top of the bed. Just as a treat for everybody. Okay, we got 13 torches left. So we're going to go underneath here and consider drowning for a little bit. And then decide no. We choose the sky. We're going to drop some more torches over here for the sky to enjoy. It's just this sky, you know? Okay. So, then empty shulkers going everywhere. Over here. Pum, 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 pum. Okay, so empty shulkers for us to put the sand in. My computer is complaining about storage space because I have 600 megabytes free. I guess we can transfer some files to an external hard drive. Because I was rendering a bunch of replay mod files from Doc's thing earlier. The poker tournament, and I guess they might have taken up a lot of space. Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, delete those. Empty recycle bin. Okay, how's my computer feel now? 10 gigabytes free. That's probably better than 600 megabytes. And then once that file transfers, it'll be 24 gigabytes free. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and place these shulkers down while those files transfer. Okay, 22 gigabytes free. Not amazing, but probably okay. For now, I could probably get rid of some other files too. Yeah. Bunch of Christmas special recording stuff. I'm gonna delete those. Okay. 38 gigabytes free. That's probably enough. Actually used fewer rockets getting over here than I expected. So we can get rid of some of the surplus there. Okay. So, let's go ahead and get chapter 119 of Moby Dick, or The Whale, out. And make sure that we haven't missed any tips rolling in. Looks like we are all set there. We are still 16 away from the next phase camera expansion milestone, the first phase camera expansion milestone of the stream. And now we are about to pursue chapter 119 of Moby Dick, or The Whale, by Herman Melville. The Candles. Warmest climes but nurse the cruelest fangs. The tiger of Bengal crouches in spiced groves of ceaseless verdure. Skies the most effulgent, but basket the deadliest thunders. Gorgeous Cuba knows tornadoes that never swept tame northern lands. So, too, it is that in these resplendent Japanese seas, the mariner encounters the direst of all storms, the typhoon. It will sometimes burst out from that cloudless sky like an exploding bomb upon a dazed and sleepy town. Toward evening of that day, the Pequod was torn of her canvas, and bare-poled was left to fight a typhoon which had struck her directly ahead. When darkness came on, sky and sea roared and split with the thunder and blazed with the lightning that showed the disabled masts fluttering here and there, with the rags which the first fury of the tempest had left for its aftersport. Holding by a shroud, Starbuck was standing on the quarter-deck, at every flash of the lightning, glancing aloft. To see what additional disaster might have befallen the intricate hamper there, while Stubb and Flask were directing the men in the higher hoisting and firm lashing of the boats. But all their pains seemed naught. Though lifted to the very top of their cranes, the windward quarter-boat, Ahab's, did not escape. A great rolling sea, dashing high up against the reeling ship's high, teetering side, stove in the boat's bottom at the stern, and left it again, all dripping through like a sieve. Bad work, Mr. Starbuck, said Stubb, regarding the wreck. But the sea will have its way. Stubb, for one, can't fight it. You see, Mr. Starbuck, a wave has such a great long start before it leaps. All around the world it runs. And then comes the spring. But as for me, all the start I have to meet it is just across the deck here. But never mind, it's all in fun. So the old song says, "Oh, jolly is the gale, and a joker is the whale, a flourish in his tail. Such a funny, sporty, gamey, jesty, jokey, hokey pokey lad is the ocean. Oh, the scud, all a-flying, then his flip, only foaming when he stirs in the spicing. Such a funny, sporty, gamey, jesty, jokey, hokey pokey lad is the ocean. Oh, thunder splits the ships, but he only smacks his lips, a-tasting of this flip. Such a funny, sporty, gamey, jesty, jokey, hokey pokey lad is the ocean. Oh." "Avast, Stub!" cried Starbuck. "Let the typhoon sing, and strike his harp here in our rigging. But if thou art a brave man, thou will holdst thy peace." "Ah, but I am not a brave man. Never said I was a brave man. I am a coward, and I sing to keep up my spirits. And I tell you what it is, Mr. Starbuck. There's no way to stop my singing in this world but to cut my throat. And when that's done, 10-1, I sing ye the doxology for a wind-up. Madman, look through my eyes if thou hast none of thine own. What? How can you see better of a dark night than anybody else? Never mind how foolish. Here! Cried Starbuck, seizing Stubb by the shoulder and pointing his hand toward the weather bow. Markest not that the gale comes from the eastward? The very course Ahab is to run for Moby Dick. The very course he swung to this day noon. Now, mark his boat there. Where is that stove? In the stern sheets, man, where he is wont to stand. His standpoint is stove, man. Now, jump overboard and sing if thou must. I don't half understand the what's in the wind? Yes, round the Cape of Good Hope is the shortest way to Nantucket, soliloquized Starbuck suddenly, heedless of Stubbs' question. The gale that now hammers at us to stave us. We can turn it into a fair wind that will drive us toward home. Yonder, to the windward, is all blackness of doom, but to leeward, homeward, I see it lightens up there, but not with the lightning. At that moment, in one of the intervals of profound darkness following the flashes, a voice was heard at his side, and almost at the same instant, a volley of thunder peals rolled overhead. Who's there? Old Thunder, said Ahab, groping his way along the bulwarks to his pivot hole, but suddenly finding his path made plain to him by elbowed lances of fire. Now, as the lightning rod to a spire on shore is intended to carry off the perilous fluid into the soil, so the kindred rod which at sea some ships carry to each mast is intended to conduct it into the water. But as this conductor must descend to a considerable depth, that its end may avoid all contact with the hull, and as, moreover, if kept constantly towing there, it would be liable to many mishaps, besides interfering not a little with some of the rigging and more or less impeding the vessel's way in the water. Because of all this, the lower parts of a ship's lightning rod are not always overboard, but are generally made in long, slender links, so as to be the more readily hauled up into the chains outside, or thrown down into the sea, as the occasion may require. "The rods! The rods!" cried Starbuck to the crew, suddenly admonished to vigilance by the vivid lightning that he had just seen darting flambeau to light Ahab to his post. "Are they overboard? Drop them over, fore and aft, quick!" "Avast!" cried Ahab. "Oh, let's have fair play here, though we may be the weaker side. Yet all contribute to raise rods on the Himalayas and the Andes, that all the world may be secured, but out on privileges. Let them be, sir." "Look aloft!" cried Starbuck. "The corpusants! The corpusants!" All the yard arms were tipped with a pallid fire, and touched at each tri-pointed lightning rod end with 3 tapering white flames. Each of the 3 tall masts was silently burning in the sulphurous air, like 3 gigantic wax tapers before an altar. "Blast the boat! Let it go!" cried Stubb at this instant, as a swashing sea heaved up under his own little craft, so that its gunwale violently jammed his hand as he was passing a lashing. "Blast it!" But slipping backward onto the deck, his uplifted eyes caught the flames, and immediately shifting his tone, he cried, "The corpusants, have mercy on us all!" To sailors, oaths are household words. They will swear in the trance of the calm and in the teeth of the tempest. They will imprecate curses from the topsail yard arms when most they teeter over to a seething sea. But in all of my voyages, seldom have I heard a common oath when God's burning finger has been laid on the ship, when his mene, tekel epharsin, has been woven into the shrouds and cordage. While this pallidness was burning aloft, few words were heard from the enchanted crew. All who in one thick cluster stood on the forecastle, all their eyes gleaming in that pale phosphorescence, like a far-away constellation of stars, relieved against the ghostly light. The gigantic harpooner Daggoo loomed up to thrice his real stature, and seemed the black cloud from which the thunder had come. The parted mouth of Tashtego revealed his shark-white teeth, which strangely gleamed, as if they too had been tipped by corpusants, while lit up by the preternatural light. Queequeg's tattooing burned like satanic blue flames on his body. The tableau all waned at last, with pallidness aloft, and once more the Pequod and every soul on her decks were wrapped in a pall. A moment or two passed, when Starbuck, going forward, pushed against someone. It was Stubb. "What thinkest thou now, man? I heard thy cry. It was not the same in the song." No, it wasn't. I said the corpusants have mercy on us all, and I hope they will still. But do they have mercy on long faces? Have they no bowels for a laugh? And look ye, Mr. Starbuck, But it's too dark to look. Hear me, then I take the masthead flame we saw for a sign of good luck. For those masts are rooted in a hold that is going to be chock-a-block full of sperm oil, do you see? And so all that sperm will work up into the mast like sap in a tree. Yes, our 3 masts will yet be 3 spermaceti candles. That's the good promise we saw. At that moment, Starbuck caught sight of Stubbs' face, slowly beginning to glimmer into sight. Glancing upwards, he cried, "See! See!" And once more, the high, tapering flames were beheld, with what seemed redoubled supernaturalness in their pallor. "The corpusants have mercy on us all!" cried Stubb again. At the base of the mainmast, full beneath the doubloon and the flame, the Parsee was kneeling in Ahab's front, but with his head bowed away from him, while nearby, from the arched and overhanging rigging, where they had just been engaged securing a spar, a number of the seamen, arrested by the glare, now cohered together, and hung pendulous, like a knot of numbed wasps from a drooping orchard twig. In various enchanted attitudes, like the standing or stepping or running skeletons in Herculaneum, others rooted to the deck, but all their eyes upcast. "Aye, man! Look up at it and mark it well. The white flame but lights the way to the white whale. Hand me those mainmast links there. I would fain feel this pulse, and let mine beat against it. Blood against the fire, so." Then, turning, the last link held fast in his left hand, he put his foot upon the Parsee, and with fixed upward eye and high-flung right arm, he stood erect before the lofty tri-pointed trinity of flames. "Oh, thou clear spirit of clear fire, whom on these seas I, as Persian, once did worship, till in the sacramental act so burned by thee, that to this hour I bear the scar. Now I know thee, thou clear spirit, and now I know that thy right worship is defiance. To neither love nor reverence wilt thou be kind, and e'en for hate thou canst but kill, and all are killed. No fearless fool now fronts thee. I own thy speechless, placeless power, but to the last gasp of my earthquake life will dispute its unconditional, unintegral mastery in me. In the midst of the personified impersonal, a personality stands here, though but a point at best. Whensoever I came, wheresoever I go, yet while I earthly live, the queenly personality lives in me and feels her royal rights. But war is pain, and hate is woe. Come in thy lowest form of love, and I will kneel and kiss thee. But at thy highest, come as mere supernal power, and though thou launchest navies of full-freighted worlds, There's that in here that still remains indifferent. O thou clear spirit, of thy fire thou madest me, and like a true child of fire, I breathe it back to thee. Sudden, repeated flashes of lightning. The 9 flames leap lengthwise to thrice their previous height, and Ahab, with the rest, closes his eyes, his right hand pressed hard upon them. I own thy speechless, placeless power. Said I not so, nor was it... Oh, wait. Wait, was this supposed to be... Wait, I thought it was supposed to be the Persian guy talking, because he said in the previous thing, I as Persian. But it's clearly the same voice continuing. And it's Ahab, I think. Wait. Is Ahab speaking metaphorically about being Persian? While directly next to an actual Persian guy, that it makes sense to have delivered this speech? Yeah, reading. It's fun. Okay. Well, I guess I'll continue this speech as Ahab, rather than as his boat guy. Let's go ahead and swap out this shovel, though. And take another sip of the drink. That the raspy voice actually is kind of hard to do. I think the part of the problem is that Stubbs, Starbuck, and Ahab's Persian contractor, I've given them all kind of raspy, deep voices with varying levels of rasp. And when I got to this one, it was just like, ah. Okay. So in some ways, I'm relieved that the next part is clearly Ahab, but I'm kind of annoyed. I don't really understand why he would call himself a Persian while he's... But whatever. Maybe this is an 1850s reference. Because, like, he's a Nantucket Quaker. It's not, like, his family is from England and came to America. They're not... He is definitely not actually Persian himself. I don't think. I mean, maybe he is supposed to actually be Persian, but that's really weird. Because he's... I'm like 100% sure that he's from a Nantucket Quaker family. So, I don't know. Okay. I own thy speechless, placeless power. Said I not so? Nor was it wrung from me, nor do I now drop these links. Thou canst blind, but I can then grope. Thou canst consume, but I can then be ashes. Take the homage of these poor eyes and shutter hands. I would not take it. The lightning flashes through my skull, mine eyeballs, and my eyeballs ache and ache. My whole beaten brain seems as beheaded and rolling on some stunning ground. Oh, yet blindfold, and yet I will talk to thee. Light thou though thou be, thou leapest out of darkness. But I am darkness leaping out of light, leaping out of thee. The javelins cease, open eyes, see or not. There burn the flames. O thou magnanimous, now do I glory in my genealogy, but thou art but my fiery father, my sweet mother. I know not. O cruel, what hast thou done with her? There lies my puzzle, but thine is greater. Thou knowest not how came ye, hence callest thyself unbegotten. Certainly knowest not thy beginning, hence thou omnipotent. There is some unsuffusing thing beyond here, or beyond thee, thou clear spirit, to whom all thy eternity is but time. All thy creativeness mechanical. Through thee, thy flaming self, my scorched eyes do dimly see it. O thou foundling fire, thou hermit immemorial, thou too hast thy incommunicable riddle, thy unparticipated grief. Here again with haughty agony I read my sire. Leap, leap up, and lick the sky. I leap with thee, I burn with thee, would fain be welded with thee, defyingly I worship thee. The boat! The boat! Cried Starbuck. Look at thy boat, old man. Ahab's harpoon, the one forged at Perth's fire, remained firmly lashed in its conspicuous crotch, so that it projected beyond his whaleboat's bow. But the sea that had stove its bottom had caused the loose leather sheath to drop off, and from the keen steel barb there now came a leveled flame of pale forked fire. As the silent harpoon burned there like a serpent's tongue, Starbuck grasped Ahab by the arm. God is against thee, old man. Forbear. 'Tis an ill voyage, ill begun, ill continued. Let me square the yards while we may, old man, and make a fair wind of it homewards, to go on a better voyage than this. Overhearing Starbuck, the panic-stricken crew immediately ran to the braces, though not a sail was left aloft. For a moment the mate's thoughts seemed theirs. They raised a half-mutinous cry. But, dashing the rattling lightning links to the deck, and snatching the burning harpoon, Ahab waved it like a torch. Among them, swearing to transfix with it the first sailor that but cast loose a rope's end, petrified by his aspect, and still more shrinking from the fiery dart that he held, the men fell back into dismay, and Ahab again spoke. All your oaths to hunt the white whale are as binding as mine, and heart, soul, body, lungs, and life. Old Ahab is bound, and that ye may know to what tune his heart beats, look ye here. Thus I blow out the last fear. And with one blast of his breath, he extinguished the flame. As in the hurricane that sweeps the plain, men fly the neighborhood of some lone gigantic elm, whose very height and strength but render it so much the more unsafe, because so much the more a mark for thunderbolts. So, at those last words of Ahab's, many of the mariners did run from him in a terror of dismay. And thus concludes chapter 119 of Moby Dick, or The Whale, by Herman Melville. That was a pretty intense chapter. Anybody have anything that they would like to comment on or ask about while we wait for those comments to roll in? Just as a reminder, this is a viewer-supported stream, and we are still $16 away from our first face camera expansion milestone of the stream. I'm going to do a quick refresh of the Nashville severe weather here. We got at least one chapter done. Okay. 9:14
Mention of the flood.
9:14 p.m. NWS noting that 1 to 2 inches per hour of rainfall are occurring within our storm line. Additional flash flooding concerns. Yep, that's fair. Okay. So, yeah, the storm's ETA, it's going to hit us at its worst at around 10. So we might lose power in about 45 minutes. Let me look at how long the next chapter is. The next chapter is really short. So we're not going to go ahead and wrap up quite yet, but I might want to get everything unplugged before this arrives, so this might not be a full-length stream tonight. And that's okay. So. Is it still supposed to say setting up stream in the corner? Well, we don't have the sand we're supposed to get yet. So we're kind of still setting up the stream. St. Elmo's fire on the harpoon, says Pepper Basenji. That's what it seems like. I feel like this was one of the chapters that Evan Dom might have had an image for. Let me go check. Evan Dom, Moby Dick candles. Yeah. This is how Evan Dom interpreted that visually. Evan Dom is a really talented illustrator. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and we're going to take this sand and go toss this in the shulker. And we need to update our what we're reading chapter link to the next chapter. Quite Pitiful says, it's just such a vibe reading while hermiting. Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, like, some of the hermits, if they have to gather sand for a few hours, will just put on a book on tape. But, you know, for me, I'm like, I'll just be a book on tape. Look at me, Ma. I'm reeling. Reeling and dealing. No, I'm just reeling. It's like that song, Reel to Reel. When you listen to each other's hearts, you'll find you'll never be far apart. Maybe love is the reason why. For the first time ever, we're taping this reel to reel. Taping this reel to reel. Wandering Mass says, Evan Dom's art is breathtaking. Yeah, he's super talented. If you're ever in the New York area, he does actually, like, do lectures and stuff fairly, like, a few times a year. And he also, I think, teaches at one of the art schools there part-time. Really strongly recommend trying to get to one of his talks if you can. I've met him at a few different conventions. Very cool, very generous guy with his time and talent. You know, he's one of the people that got me into streaming artwork in the first place because he used to stream illustration stuff more frequently. He still does sometimes for his Patreon patrons, but it used to be more regular. But yeah, seeing him think through his process is really cool. But yeah, very, very cool guy. So let's go ahead and I'm going to get the chapter 120 link set up here. What we're reading. Copy. Pin. Paste. Replace pinned message. Okay, so this is chapter 120 out of out of 135. So realistically, I'm not sure how long all these chapters are, but we usually read at least one chapter a week. So we've probably got between 15 and 5 weeks left, if I had to guess, of reading Moby Dick. So that should be fun. Then we'll take a break for a few weeks and just read some shorter stuff before committing to reading anything longer again. But I'm really enjoying this. Okay. I feel like I'm missing a lot of sand. Where did I leave the sand? Is it over here? It's over here. Sand time. The candles, the sand will be pretty cool, oh yeah. Sand. Sleep. Dream. Okay, so we're gonna toss these into here. How many shulkers of the sand is that? That's 5 thus far. So doing okay on sand, not spectacular. We'll put anything that's not sand in this doom box here, and then we'll further separate that out. Set it aside, all fancy-like. Okay. Yeah, we'll move these back slightly to indicate that these are the full ones. Okay, cool. That's a step in a process. So, let's see. If you guys are enjoying this stream... Hey, we got a tip rolling in. Let's see who it's from. It's from Leslie. Tipping 5. Thank you very much, Leslie. We were 16 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. Now we're only 11. And then we got another tip rolling in for 5 from Wander and Mask. Thank you so much. That's going to get us 6 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. I think I might have gotten a little lost there. Luckily, we know that the loaded chunks are the ones we came from. Ooh, hey, there's a lot of sand over here. Yeah, let's go get that sand. And then we're going to read chapter 120 of Moby Dick, or the Whale, by Herman Melville. the deck towards the end of the first night watch. Oh, wait. Somebody's already got, like, a cactus farm over here. Well, that's not good. Maybe it's back to this thing, then. Ahab standing by the helm. Starbuck approaching him. We must send down the main topsail yard, sir. The band is working loose, and the lee is half-stranded. Shall I strike it? Sir. Strike nothing. Lash it. If I had skysail poles, I'd sway them up now. Sir, it got name. Sir. Well, the anchors are working, sir. Shall I get them inboard? Strike nothing and stir nothing. Lash everything. The wind rises, but it has not got up to my tablelands yet. Quick, and see to it. By masts and keels he takes me, over the hunchback skipper of some coasting smack. Send down my top mainsail yard. Ugh, glue pots. Loftiest trucks were made for the wildest winds, and this brain truck of mine now sails amid the cloud scud. Shall I strike that? Oh, none but cowards send down their brain trucks in tempest time. What a whorish aloft there. I would even take it for sublime, did I not know the colic a noisy malady. Take medicine. Take medicine. And that concludes chapter 120 of Moby Dick, or The Whale, by Herman Melville. What was that noise? Was that a dolphin punting sand inward? Is that armadillo punting sand inward? Can armadillos punt sand? I don't know. He sure wanted to try, though. So that was a short chapter, yep. Just Ahab and Starbuck having a quick conversation about what is and is not reasonable given the situation. I'm assuming when Starbuck says the band is working loose and the lee lift is half stranded, he means that, like, basically the cross posts on the mast are coming off and they need to, like, take it down. Coco says, how can you read and play at the same time? I mean, I'm not playing anything complicated. I'm just mining for sand. I couldn't do redstone and read. This is pretty straightforward stuff. You could probably do this too if you tried. I'm not even doing a good job of gathering the sand. I'm just kind of waving the shovel around. And then, like, picking up sand as I go. Okay. So, how long is the next chapter? 121. Midnight, the Forecastle Bulwarks. These next two chapters are particularly short. So I think that I'm inclined to see if we can get through one more before the storm hits here. We are going to be wrapping up the stream a little bit early because of the oncoming storm. Oh, which is everyone's favorite David Tennant character. Maple Bacon says, hello, this is my first stream. Oh, okay. Well, this is a completely normal stream. I'm reading Moby Dick while playing on the best Minecraft server in the world. Chapter 121, Midnight, the Forecastle Bulwarks. Stubb and Flask mounted on them, passing additional lashings over the anchors they are hanging. No, Stubb. You may pound that knot there as much as you please, but you will never pound into me what you are just now saying. And how long ago is it since you said the very contrary? Didn't you once say that whatever ship Ahab sails in, that ship should pay something extra on its insurance policy, just as though it were loaded with powder barrels aft and boxes of lucifers forward? Stop. Now, didn't you say so? Well, suppose I did. What then? I've part changed my flesh since that time. Why not my mind? Besides, supposin' we are loaded with powder barrels aft and lucifers forward, how the devil could the lucifers get a fire in this drenching spray here? Why, my little man, you have pretty red hair, but you couldn't get a fire now. Shake yourself. You're Aquarius, the water bearer. Flask might fill pitchers at your coat collar. Don't you see, then, that for all these extra risks, the marine insurance companies have extra guarantees? Here are hydrants, Flask, but hark, again, I'll answer you the other thing. First, take off your leg from that crown of the anchor there, so I can put the rope through. Now, listen. What's the mighty difference between holding a mast's lightning rod in a storm and standing close by a mast that hasn't got any lightning rod at all in a storm? Don't you see, you timberhead, that no harm can come to the holder of the rod unless the mast is first struck? What are you talking about, then? Not one ship in 100 carries rods, and Ahab, aye, man, and all of us, we're in no more danger, in my opinion, than all the crews and 10,000 ships now sailing the seas. Why, you, King Post, you! I suppose you would have every man in the world go about with a small lightning rod running up the corner of his hat, like a militia officer's skewed feather, and trailing behind like a sash. Why don't you be sensible, Flask? It's easy to be sensible. Why don't you, then? Any man with half an eye can be sensible. I don't know that, Stubb. You sometimes find it rather hard. Yes, when a fellow's soaked through, it's hard to be sensible. That's a fact, and I am about drenched with this spray. Never mind. Catch the turn there, and pass it. Seems to me we are lashing down these anchors now as if they were never going to be used again. Tying these two anchors here, Flask, seems like tying a man's hands behind him. And what big, generous hands they are, to be sure. These are your iron fists, eh? What a hold they have, too. I wonder, Flask, whether the world is anchored anywhere, and if she is, she swings with an uncommon long cable, though. There, hammer and knot down, and we're done. So, next to touching land, lightning on deck is most satisfactory, I say. Just wring out my jacket skirts, will ye? Thank ye. They laugh at long togs so, Flask, but seems to me a long-tailed coat ought to always be worn in all storms afloat. The tails tapering down that way serve to carry off the water. D'ye see? Same with cocktats. The cocks form gable-end eaves troughs, Flask. No more monkey jackets and tarpaulins for me. I must mount a swallowtail and drive down a beaver, so hello, woo. There goes my tarpaulin overboard. Lord, Lord, that the winds that come from heaven should be so unmannerly. This is a nasty night, lad. And thus concludes chapter 121 of Moby Dick, or the Whale, by Herman Melville. Midnight, the Forecastle Bulwarks. Okay, one thing I definitely screwed up in there is I misread one of Flask's lines using the Starbuck voice. Sorry about that, guys. Welcome, 87 Goats. Yep, there will be a VOD of this, don't worry. We haven't included any music. Okay. No more monkey jackets jumping on my ship. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to drop off this shovel and swap it out for a freshen. Refreshing my shovel. Bum, 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 bum. Dee, 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 dee. Da-na, da-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Okay, so let's see. We are up to 6 shulkers of sand. Not bad. Let me just double check. I know I'm reloading the Nashville severe weather a lot, but okay. ETA's on the line. The storm is moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. Okay, nothing rotating in the incoming waves of storms, just straight line winds with hail. Okay, that's fine. We can deal with that. Okay, so let me pull this up here. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Yeah, it looks like if we wrap up the stream by 10 o'clock, we should be in good shape. So, staying ahead of it. Now, this next chapter is also fairly short, so I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to update the what we're reading link to point to chapter 122, Midnight Aloft, Thunder and Lightning. Let's go ahead and pin that. Place pin message. Jen K says, y'all stay safe, Joe. Don't worry. Badger has made a ton of preparations. And it's like, okay, got the weather radio, got all this other stuff sorted. Badger has done a lot. So yeah, we're doing well in terms of general prep. But yeah, I do want to stop the stream soon enough that I can unplug the computer and whatnot before the lightning hits. So yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and read chapter 122, Midnight Aloft, Thunder and Lightning. The main topsail yard. Tashtego now passing new lashings around it. Stop the thunder! Plenty too much thunder up there! What's the use of thunder? We don't want thunder. We want rum. Give us a glass of rum! And that concludes chapter 122 of Moby Dick or the Whale by Herman Melville. Yeah, it's fun how some characters are just like, oh boy, all that blasphemy, this has gotten God mad at us, oh no, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, other characters are reacting differently. Tashtego's just like, rum! Okay, so somewhere in here is the portal. There it is back there. Wow, what a long and exhausting chapter 122 was. I know, right? Chapter 122 almost feels like a Popeye cartoon, like just a panel, like a multi-panel newspaper comic strip. Once again, this was written in 1850. So once again, this is Melville anticipating the framework of future media. I would be shocked if there is not a Popeye cartoon, although it probably would be an homage to this, of Wimpy yelling into a storm that he wants a hamburger. Is it Wimpy? No, Wimpy's is the name of the burger place. What's the name of the friend that wants the hamburgers? Maybe or maybe Wimpy created the hamburger place later. I don't know. My Popeye lore is a little bit... Wimpy is that dude. Okay, thank you, T-Log. Is there a theory that Melville was a time traveler? Well, in a previous chapter, he described... Ahab describes asking Prometheus to build him a giant mech that he could fight Moby Dick in. And the ship's carpenter is like, "Sir? What are you talking about?" And Ahab's just like, "Oh, just the ramblings of an old man. Nothing to worry about." And it's like, wait, is it? That seems like that was 2 paragraphs describing the first... This is the first written exploration of using a mech to fight a sea monster, and we're just gonna gloss over that? This seems like a time traveler thing or something. I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a reason this book is relevant, even today, and that reason is that you could make a pretty plausible argument that even if he's not a time traveler, this book is effectively science fiction in how well it anticipates the future. Why is my shift button not working for... Oh, because it's trying to move him into there. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we have sand now. Some of this we're going to turn into glass, but a lot of this we want to turn into concrete. So we've got that. How much of this do we want to turn into glass is the question. Okay. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to head back to the... Well, actually, let me see. How are we for wool? Not great, but not terrible either. Thing is, with this storm coming, we're kind of at a good stopping point here. So let's go ahead and do last call for tips. Once again, thank you guys for your patience with having the short stream, but yeah, given how crazy the lightning was last night and how big the storm is rolling in and how soon, it just seems wise to wrap things up a little bit early. So I have more time to prepare. So yeah, just as a reminder, tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. While we wait a few minutes for any of those last minute tips to roll in, let's go ahead and do some more organization work over here. 87 Goats tips 2 and says, "Usually I have a message when I tip. Not today, though." Well, thank you anyway, 87 Goats. We were 6 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. Now we are only 4. Kit says this was a fun stream to watch while animating. Thanks, Joe. Well, thank you, Kit, for joining us. Stretching out. 87 Goats says, "Can't wait to watch the VOD." Yeah, the previous chapter was pretty... Or the first chapter of this one was pretty big. And if you haven't seen the Evan Dom image that corresponds with that... Here, you'll want to look at this image, 87 Goats, when you watch the VOD. Welcome, Emma Dim. We are wrapping up the stream because there's a storm rolling in. So we are just doing some last-minute inventory management and cleanup stuff. Welcome, Cairo Gaming Vermont. We are wrapping up here ourselves, so no need to stress if you can't stay. MJ Alpaca says, no worries, Joe. Hope you all stay safe. Thank you very much. Centortron says, we had a few chapters about storms on the night of storms approaching. Yeah, it's one of those things that feels... what do you call it? Okay, I cannot hear you with the headphones on.
Feels timely.
Feels timely. Ah, okay.
I know you were thinking of another.
I was thinking of another word. I was thinking of, like, some variation of prognosticated, but I don't know. Hey, thank you very much to Book Fanatic for tipping 10, who says, stay safe. Will do, Book Fanatic. That's going to get us 6 past our next face camera expansion milestone. Please direct your attention to my face because I'm about to expand. Juice. Doo-doo-doo-doo. And then lowering the Joe Pasty now to 32%. Da-da-da-da. So thank you very much, Book Fanatic. Okay. Bye, Darwin. Prescient. Yeah, that's probably the word I was looking for. It feels, harbingerific. I don't know. Harbingerific. Something. I don't know. Okay. But yeah, big storm rolling in. So we're going to wrap up. Let me see who I can raid. And I need to make sure not to raid anybody else in Nashville because they're probably going to be wrapping up their streams too if they are streaming. So let's see who is live. Ba-da-da-da-da. Bum-bum, ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. Da. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Ba-bum-bum-bum, ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. Looks like Ping the Net has a bird feeder camera. Was that a rabbit? Yeah, let's raid Ping the Net because there's a rabbit near the feeder. /raid Ping the Net when you get over there. Our raid messages. Howdy, y'all. Joe Hill's raid here. I know Ping the Net through the Mystery Pinball Theater 3000 crowd. Ping the Net recently set up an outdoor, like, nature cam. That's pretty cool. So, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee.